They uninvited me from Christmas, not knowing I was the reason they had a Christmas at all. I wasn't just excluded. I was erased, from the family group chat, the dinner list, the entire plan. We just don't think you'd fit the vibe. This year, my sister texted like I was a broken decoration. What they didn't know was that I owned the company funding their so-called perfect Christmas. Before we go on, like, share, and subscribe if you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have supported you the most. It started with a family meeting I didn't know about. They sat around planning gifts, outfits, food. All on a budget covered by Uncle Nathan's investor friend. Spoiler alert, that investor friend? That was me, through a shell corporation I created 3 years ago after they all called me a corporate failure. Back then, I was struggling. I'd left my job after my boss stole my app design, and everyone at home thought I was having a breakdown. My mom actually told me to just marry rich like your cousin Natalie. I didn't say a word. I just worked, nights, weekends, nonstop. Built a tech consulting firm quietly, moved it under 3 different names, and started investing. They never connected it back to me. So when I found out the family's Christmas dinner was being sponsored by a private investor, I smiled. They thought they were clever, pitching their little boutique business to a generous anonymous backer. They didn't realize the backer was the same embarrassment they voted not to invite to dinner. I watched their group photos online. All smiles. Glitter. Grateful for our blessings. My aunt tagged the sponsor company. Big mistake. That same night, I pulled the plug. Froze all pending investments, recalled funds using the exit clause they hadn't even read. And flagged them for breach of contract, because technically, they lied about company expenses. The next morning, their $1 million deal collapsed like a gingerbread house in a rainstorm. But the real show? That came when the lawyers showed up at their holiday follow-up brunch. The lawyer walked into their brunch like he owned the place, because legally, he kinda did now. Everyone froze mid-mimosa. My uncle, the self-proclaimed family CEO, actually choked on a shrimp cocktail. "Excuse me," the lawyer said, placing a thick envelope on the table. "This is regarding the immediate termination of your funding contract with Hawthorne Capital." My cousin Natalie, the one who once called me the broke auntie with Wi-Fi, turned pale. "Wait. Hawthorne Capital? But they're the reason we could even expand the shop this year. They can't just back out now." "Oh, they can," the lawyer smiled. "And they have. Effective immediately. Also, you're being audited. Good luck." My mom pulled out her reading glasses and whispered, "This has to be some mistake." That's when the second envelope came out, addressed to me. "Claire Harper," the lawyer read, "sole funder and silent owner of the capital group you pitched to last quarter." You could feel the silence crack the air. My sister Ashley stood up like she was going to fight a ghost. "Claire? Claire funded us? No. That can't be right. She's not even invited." The lawyer nodded. "Exactly. Which is why she terminated the deal. Clause 14b, any misrepresentation, disrespect, or exclusion of the primary funder constitutes a breach. That includes personal attacks." He looked around. "And based on the screenshots Ms. Harper provided of the family texts, I'd say this qualifies." Cue the group panic. Uncle Nathan tried to spin it. "Claire's just overreacting. It's family stuff. Nothing personal." I finally stepped into the restaurant then. Yup, I was watching it all from the hallway camera until the moment felt perfect. "Oh, but it was personal," I said, walking in with the grace of every holiday they made me feel like I wasn't enough. "You uninvited me from Christmas. So I uninvited you from my money." Natalie actually gasped. "Claire, you own Hawthorne Capital?" "No, Natalie," I smiled. "I built it." Before they could respond, the lawyer handed out final notices. I walked past them and ordered a coffee. From their own brunch bar. No one said a word, but that wasn't even the part that broke them. That came next. When the media found out. By the next morning, their entire world was on fire, not just behind closed doors, but all over social media, LinkedIn, and even in the local business news. The headline read, "Family Boutique Loses $1 Million. Investment After Secret Owner Reveals Betrayal." And under it? A photo of me from an old tech magazine cover. Claire Harper. Founder. CEO. Investor. The failure they all laughed at was suddenly trending as the woman who brought down her own family, with style. The comments were brutal, power move of the century. Imagine getting disowned from Christmas by people funded by your own wallet. I'd buy whatever Claire's selling. And my favorite one, this is how you serve revenge, cold, expensive, and with legal backing. But the internet wasn't the only thing crashing down on them. Clients started pulling out of pre-orders. One of their biggest retail partnerships backed off, afraid of the bad PR storm. And their business account froze overnight because, surprise, it was co-managed by Hawthorne Capital, and my exit removed financial authorization. My sister Ashley called me 8 times. No voicemail, just panic. She even texted, "Claire, please, this is going to ruin everything. Mom is crying. Just call me. We didn't mean to actually hurt you. We thought you'd understand." Understand, these were the same people who told me, "Don't bring your depressing energy this year," when I was quietly mourning a failed product launch. The same people who hosted a party the night I lost my apartment and never once checked on me. Now that their empire was shaking, they suddenly remembered I existed. That night, my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. She hadn't been there in years. She stood at my door holding a fruitcake like it could erase the last 5 years of silence. "Claire, sweetheart, maybe we didn't handle things the best way. But you've got to admit, this is a bit extreme, don't you think?" I didn't answer. I just opened the door wider so she could see the view behind me, a massive glass office overlooking downtown, filled with awards, plaques, and a wall-sized screen playing the live stock ticker of my firm. She walked in slowly, taking it all in. "You really built all this?" I nodded once. "While you were calling me just emotional, I was building a legacy." She sat down, her hands shaking. "We didn't know. We just thought you weren't going anywhere." I looked her straight in the eyes. "That was the point. I didn't want to tell you I made it. I wanted you to feel it." For a moment, I thought she might apologize. But instead, she asked, "Is there any way we can fix this? Get the funding back? Maybe we can invite you next year, make things right?" I almost laughed. "Next year?" I leaned forward. "You think this is about a dinner?" Then I pulled out my phone and hit publish on something I'd been working on quietly. It was an open letter to every small investor and family-run business out there who'd ever been underestimated, silenced, or laughed at by the people closest to them. A call to rise, with resources, mentorship, and investment, from my new fund. A fund that would make sure people like me never had to beg for a seat at the table again. My mom watched the screen light up as notifications poured in. She didn't say a word. Because deep down, she knew, this wasn't revenge, this was redemption. But just when I thought the story was over, a knock came on my office door, and what happened next changed everything. The knock on the door was sharp, 3 precise taps. That didn't match my assistant's usual rhythm. I turned, half expecting Ashley or Natalie trying to squeeze out one last apology, but instead, it was him, Derek. My ex-fiancé, the same man who dumped me 2 weeks before our wedding because, and I quote, "You're too focused on chasing fairy tales. I need a woman who understands stability." Turns out, he married Natalie. My cousin. Yep, that Natalie. I hadn't seen him in years. He walked in slowly, suit pressed, face pale. And behind him? Natalie, barely able to keep up, her heels clicking like panic across the marble floor. "Claire," he said carefully, voice lower than usual. We didn't know it was you." I leaned back in my chair, calm as a storm. "Is that your new excuse for betrayal? You didn't know I'd win?" Natalie cut in. "Claire, listen, things have gotten really complicated. Our joint bank accounts are frozen, and the boutique, it's not just ours. We have employees. Families depending on us." I stared at her blankly. "You mean like how I depended on you all when I was couch surfing and couldn't even afford a Christmas meal?" Derek stepped forward. "Claire, we messed up. I messed up. I thought you were lost back then. I didn't see this version of you. But now, look at you. You've built an empire." I tilted my head. "Funny. When I told you I had a vision, you called it a hobby and said I was wasting time. And Natalie? She called me a glorified tech support girl. Now you're both here. In my office. Asking me to save you." He didn't even flinch. "Claire," he said softly. "What if I told you I regretted everything? What if I said, I still think about you?" Natalie's head whipped toward him. "Are you serious right now?" I smiled. Oh, I know exactly what this is. You saw the article, the attention, the headlines. You thought maybe, just maybe, you could sneak your way back into the light I built. But let me be clear, I stood up slowly, heels clicking with intent. You left me when I was down. So don't show up now that I'm glowing. He looked like he wanted to respond, but I held up a hand. And Natalie? I've already set in motion a full-scale acquisition of your boutique. Not to destroy it, no. I'm going to rebrand it under my fund, turn it into a non-profit hub for female entrepreneurs. Every brick you laid will now empower women who actually believe in each other. Natalie's jaw dropped. You can't do that. That's our name, our legacy. I leaned in with a grin. It was. Now it's mine. The security guard knocked politely on the frame. Miss Harper, do you need assistance? I waved them off. No need. They were just leaving. Derek looked at me one last time, not with anger. With regret. The kind that cuts deeper than hate. And Natalie? She stormed out, heels clacking like shattered pride. As the door closed behind them, I turned back toward my skyline view. My empire wasn't built out of revenge. It was built from every no, every insult, every uninvited moment, but just. When I finally felt peace, my assistant buzzed in. Claire, there's a reporter from Forbes here to profile you for their underdog power list. She says you've just broken into the top 100 private investors in the country. I smiled, but what she said next stopped me cold. She also said someone leaked an old recording of a family meeting from years ago. The one where they planned to cut you out of your inheritance. My heart paused because that meeting was never supposed to be recorded, and what was on it could burn everything to the ground. I opened the audio file with trembling fingers. It was crackly at first, like an old cassette tape, but then came the voices. Clear. Familiar. Sharp like daggers I didn't know were still lodged in my back. Claire's. Just, not one of us, my uncle's voice rang out. She's adopted hustle culture like a disease. She doesn't get legacy. She doesn't belong in the family business. Then Ashley, she's a liability. Always emotional. Always talking about building her own thing. Dad said we should quietly remove her from the trust. By the time she notices, it'll be too late. And finally, my mother, let her chase her silly apps and online ideas. We need to protect what's real. She's not like us. Never was. I sat in silence. The air felt heavy. They didn't just underestimate me. They erased me, on purpose. Coldly. Strategically. Like I was a threat to their kingdom of comfort. And while I was burning myself to build something real, they were busy plotting how to steal my future before it even began. For a second, I wanted to cry. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I stood up and walked to the window, watching the city glow with everything I had earned without their help. Every light, every contract, every dollar, forged alone, fueled by their rejection, and now I had something more powerful than revenge. I had proof of betrayal. Proof of sabotage. Proof of why I was left off that Christmas list in the first place, not because they forgot me, but because they feared me. I emailed the clip to my legal team, subject line, Activate Clause 7, full removal from Harper Family Trust and launch. PR release. Because here's the twist, that family business? The one they tried to gatekeep from me? Thanks to a quiet buyout I initiated 2 months ago, I already owned 51%. They didn't know, until that moment. My lawyer called instantly, it's done. The board just received the tape. And Claire, we pushed the story out. Every outlet is picking it up. I turned on the TV, breaking news. Claire Harper releases secret audio exposing family betrayal, claims full control of Harper Industries. Suddenly, the same people who mocked me were the ones trending, but not as inspirations. As villains. Cousin Natalie deleted her Instagram. Uncle Nathan's LinkedIn business mentor bio vanished. Ashley's boutique website returned a 404 error. Their digital lives collapsed like the paper crowns they'd worn for years. And me? I walked into the next board meeting in a red power suit, heels clicking louder than ever, and said only 5 words: this empire has a new queen. The room stood. Applauded, because I wasn't the broken girl from 5 Christmases ago anymore. I wasn't begging for a seat at the table. I owned the damn table, and the ones who left me out in the cold, they'll spend every winter watching me light up the world they tried to keep dark.